want to tell you about an event really fast. On May 1st in Kansas City, Sarah Palin, J.C. Watts, Fred Thompson, Liz Cheney, a bunch of others, me way on down the line, very early in that program, I'm sure, are going to all gather in Kansas City just to really do some sort of boots on the ground training, and want to invite you all to be there. You can find out more about that at drginaloudon.com. Going to be a little somber with you tonight. I have a story to tell you. It's a dark day in the United States. This is the former United States. Vacant flagpoles hang lifelessly, cables clanging where brilliant stars and stripes had danced before. The children walk in straight gray lines, heads hung low, the look of hope lost in their eyes. They know their future is dark. Churches and temples sit vacant in disrepair. New government agencies would soon move into them and occupy the hallowed grounds where the faithful used to gather. They were gone now. No one knew where. There were whispers, but nobody knew for sure where all the patriots had gone. Crosses were replaced now with a new circle on all of the churches, symbolizing unity and wholeness after so many years of intolerance, selfishness, and greed. The National Circle newspaper told of efficiencies in systems and workers now, and the wholeness of one country, one circle, one unified nation under all. Workers wear white. It is a government about the people, around the people, and in the people. The nation has a new creed. Let us never again be divided by intolerance, unfairness, or greed. Molly pauses for just a moment to remember the last great stand before so much changed in her country. They were told they'd have change. They had risen up to fight, but they were silenced forever. Molly fought tears as she glanced toward the barren ground where a large arched structure stood only years before. It was torn down, and like the crosses that used to be on the churches, it was replaced with a large sculpture of a circle, the circle of oneness. Molly took a breath and tried to hold back the tears that stung as she walked through the sea of white. She gazed for just a moment so as to not be caught remembering. She knew cameras were everywhere. She gasped to see a familiar face and eyes that still remembered. She recognized someone. It was hard to see faces when everyone looked exactly the same. Hannah, is that you? Both women knew that cameras everywhere would catch their exchange, so they hurried along to look like they were on the official business of putting in the new O signs everywhere. Yes, I remember you, Molly, Hannah replied before Molly could even ask the question burning in her soul. I remember the patriots. I remember the bullhorns, the rain, the signs, the cold, the heat. I remember shivering next to you and all the hope that was in our hearts warming us that day. The tears were welling up now with the flood of memories of the days fighting together for a concept so hushed now, it didn't seem that one could have ever really even lived it. The concept was called simply freedom. Do we know, Molly? Will we ever know, she asked. Who killed the Tea Party? Was it the unions? Did they take over after card check and kill the small businesses and the remainder of the free economy? Is that what happened? Molly shook her head, wishing there was another way to tell her friend the really painful truth. Was it a liberal infiltration? I remember the rumors of them disrupting our rallies. Is that what happened? Molly looked down. Was it a foreign invasion? Another country coming to divide and conquer the freedom fighters? Hannah's face was flaming red with the anticipation of knowing the truth of what had ended all the hope for freedom that was born right here on the former arch grounds only years before. Years before, the change was delivered, one segment of the economy at a time, until the businesses crashed, the churches closed, families crumbled in despair, and the one came and made the change, just like they'd promised. Hannah, it wasn't the liberals, it wasn't the unions or the race baiters or the mainstream media, it wasn't lawyers or foreign government or bloggers. The words choked her as she said them. It's so hard for me to tell you this, but it was us. Hannah looked like she might fall. She reached to grab her as her jaw dropped to the ground, and Molly signaled for Hannah to keep walking so the cameras wouldn't alert the officials. For clarity in her bravest voice, because she had to tell her the truth now, she repeated the words that pierced her friend's heart. It was us. Remember that While the media bit at our heels, the liberals made accusations, and the politicians scrambled for cover, we continued to fight. You remember that? Well then, in our own sin, we took the bait. The others always knew we would. We turned on our own. Remember, Hannah? Remember when we turned on our own? The glassy redness in Hannah's eyes told of every tear in her heart. I remember. Like a slideshow, the memories of the happiness and the hope and the freedom danced in her mind for just a moment. She remembered the warnings of her parents, the sweet history books she used to read, and she missed her Bible. She remembered her Bible telling her to be careful about turning on her own. She remembered how she felt just sure that certain groups were doing things the wrong way, threatening the movement she had worked so hard to create. She remembered being angry with the freedom fighters, so angry that she actually leaked information to the others. She remembered the day the patriots went back into their homes, to their drug of television, food, baseball, to cover the pain of knowing that they could have saved a country on the verge of disaster, but they chose instead not to. She remembered the day there were no more rallies, the day she woke up to find only one page displayed available on the internet, one radio station, one TV network, all displaying the same information about going to the nearest ballot box and being measured for a white uniform. She remembered the day the buildings and the billboards were painted with large white O's on them for purposes of oneness and unity. She looked back now, surprised that it didn't happen the way she thought it would. It was disturbingly clean and easy. There was no visible bloodshed, only policy, then whiteness, then vanishing. She remembered the way it all changed, and she wanted to fight now. She wanted to kill the person or thing that had done this, but there were no weapons, no information, no relationships, nobody to fight beside her. She had nothing to show for the fight she had fought for those years. She'd stopped fighting, turned on her fellow patriots, and now all she had was a memory of what she had had before and the dream of what could have been. The worst part of all was that the offender, the real offender, was closer than she ever knew. The one who killed the freedom was her, and nothing would ever change that. Patriots, we have a gift. Our gift is this moment, right here, right now, in this time. This may never be ours again. We have no promises of any more rallies. We have no promises of any more trips to the ballot box. Stand together with me and fight before it's too late. God bless us. Say it with me. The land of the free and the home of the free. You're brave. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. We're going to try something a little bit different.